Okay, I think I'm here. So if you're watching, I have a new audio thing going on. So I have no idea if the audio is good, mediocre, terrible, excellent. So I don't know if anyone joins and this thing starts. Did I actually start? I think that I started. I can see myself over here. I have a separate screen to watch the chat. There's nobody watching. So I have to wait to see. Oh, I can see the audio level going super high. So one thing I might do is bring it down a little bit, sensitivity. Test, 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 test. That might be better. I'm going to keep an eye on the chat here. I can actually listen to my own audio, but that's going to... So one thing I might do is bring it down. Hey, it's not terrible. Okay, there's nobody watching, but this will get recorded. I am here to look at the Processing 3 debugger. I am going to make a video about all of the new features in Processing 3 eventually. But right now I just want to focus on the debugger. So, and I'm going to record this video. I mean, this is recording, but I'm sort of getting ready, and then I'm going to hit record at a certain point, and that'll be kind of the archived version. Okay, I see that one person is watching. Tell me if the audio sounds okay if you're actually there. So let's take a look at what I've got here. I'm trying to make a sketch that I think might be a good one to demonstrate the debugger. Let me add a y variable. Let me make this shrink this a little bit. Have x start at 100. Maybe I should actually just make this a little bit wider and a little taller. X equals x, and let's just have y equals y plus speed. And then I'm going to add, oh boy, what's going on here? Because I have all these. I'm going to take out the comments. I'm going to have a gravity variable. And I'm going to say speed equals speed plus gravity. So I'm just creating and I'm just going to test the bottom. If y is greater than height, speed equals speed times -1, and draw the circle at xy. So I just want to create a very simple bouncing ball because I think this might be a good way to demonstrate the debugger. So it's working. Okay, all right, so I think, let me just sort of like work this out a little bit and then I'll start recording. I have a little bit of time. How's the audio? Anybody there listening? How's the audio? Okay, I did. Okay, so let me see. Now, okay, so the Processing Debugger. This is new. Look at this. This little icon right here will enable the debugger. And let me create the problem first. So let me make gravity a little bit more extreme. I'll have y start at 50. And one of the things, and x can be in the middle. So one of the things that you want to do with a bouncing ball sometimes is have the ball, this circle, when it reaches the bottom, lose a little bit of speed. So if it loses a little bit of speed, it'll appear more like an elastic thing that loses some, speed each time it hits, and it'll slowly down, bop, 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 bop. So let's look at this, and I'm going to change this to 0.8 and see what happens. Oh, look, see, it immediately got stuck, and it's like flickering over there. Yes, that's the problem that I wanted to demonstrate. So oops, I have the chat open. Just one person. Okay, so this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to start over at a certain point. Okay, so it's stuck. So how do we figure out what's going on? So one thing that we can do with the debugger is look at variable values. So if I enable the debugger, first of all, you'll see a new pane comes up. This is, I would say, the variable inspector pane. So normally what I might do without the debugger, and I'm going to disable the debugger, is I might say something like print line y, and if I run this, I can see like, okay, well, there's some stuff going on here. That's what's happening with y. Maybe that's going to help me deduce the problem. You know what? I think maybe I'm just going to actually start recording this video. I'm going to go back. I feel like, oh no, let me keep going through this. So let me, because I need to figure out where I'm going to add a breakpoint. So, but I don't want to, the debugger is going to allow me to have a more sophisticated way of looking at variable values and actually pausing the sketch while it's running, looking at some variable values, telling it to continue, telling it to advance line by line. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add a breakpoint right here. Let's see if that works. So first I have to enable the debugger. I have my variable inspector. Let me see, let me stop this. Let me make this, shrink this, close this, put the variable inspector down here. I just want to see if I can fit everything onto the screen. Run the sketch. All right, let's make this variable inspector a little bit smaller and move it down here. Okay, so it's stuck. Okay, all right. I think I'm a little bit closer now to what I'm attempting to do. So let's see if I add the breakpoint here. Then I hit debug, it stops there, and I can see X is 200 and Y is 51, and it hasn't drawn the ellipse yet. So what I want to do is do continue, and I'm going to have to hit continue a whole lot of times. And okay, this is going to work. When it gets to the bottom, you can see it's stuck. So what I can do is try step now. Step. Step. So I think this is going to help me deduce the problem. Okay. So I'm just sort of working out some things. I got an example. The thing gets stuck. We're going to like fix the problem. We're going to look at the debugger. So I'm going to close these panes. I'm going to hit stop. I'm going to change this back to -1. I'm going to hit run. Oops, I'm going to take out the debugger. I'm going to enable the debugger. I'm going to take out this breakpoint. Stop. Take out this breakpoint. Save. Get rid of the debugger. Okay, and here we go. Okay, I am ready to make this video about the debugger. Anybody have any questions, comments, feedback? All 2 of you watching. Yesterday I had like 15. That was very exciting. Okay, so I'm going to practice, or I'm just going to make this video now about the debugger, and hopefully it's going to go well. I'm just coming over here to have some water. I've got like 20 minutes. I really hope, and somebody tell me if the audio is okay. I'm just going to have to assume it's okay. It looks like the levels are reasonable over there. They're coming up kind of high. Maybe I should move it up a little bit, sensitivity. Test, test, test. Test, test. Okay, I think that's good. Okay. Okay, so now I'm going to start actually recording. I mean, this is, YouTube will archive this whole mess, but I'm going to actually record now, and I'm going to move this plug to here, and I'll be ready to go. Okay. Hello, this is the first in what I hope to be several different kinds of videos about some of the new features in Processing 3. I'm working on a kind of overview video that will go through kind of a list of everything new and things that have changed in Processing 3. But in this video, I want to look in particular at the Processing 3 debugger, which is a brand new feature in Processing 3. It's very exciting. I have really actually, to be honest, have never really used a debugger. I'm kind of a print line kind of guy, which we'll talk about what the difference and how you sort of debug. So how debugging and all of that is a tremendously large topic, and I have some ideas for some resources that maybe I can link in the description of this video too. But here I want to just look at how the Processing 3 debugger works. I'm going to start this video over because I rambled for too much. Okay. Here we go again. It's audio okay? There's a chat here if you're watching. Tell me if the audio is okay. Hello, my name is Dan Schiffman, and I am here to talk about the Processing 3 debugger. Now, there's a lot of things that are new in Processing 3, and I'll be making another video at some point very soon that gives an overview of all the new things. But here, I just want to look at the debugger. So what is a debugger for? This is not an unusual thing. You're writing some code, it's not working properly, you can't figure out what's wrong, you've got to diagnose that problem. There's lots of different strategies. In fact, a good strategy is just take a break for a while or go talk to somebody else about a different subject and let your mind rest a little bit. But if you need to dig into the code itself, the debugger is a nice tool to help you see what's going on, and has several different kinds of features that I want to demonstrate now. So first, I have a prepared sketch here. I'm going to run it. This is a kind of classic bouncing ball sketch. There's a single ellipse on the screen. It has an x and y variable. It has a speed variable, and gravity is changing speed. Speed is changing the y location. So this is working fine, but I have this fake pretend idea for this sketch, where I'm going to go down and say, you know what I would like to happen is when this ball reaches the bottom, instead of multiplying speed by -1, I want to lose a bit of speed. I want to multiply it by 0.95, 0.97, 0.9, 0.8. Let's make it 0.8 right now. So the effect that I'm looking for is bounce, 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 lose a little bit of bounce each time, and settle down onto the ground, like a real elastic ball might do. So let's quickly run this sketch. We can see the results. Oops, it's immediately stuck at the bottom. So why did it get stuck at the bottom? Okay, so I already know the answer because I went through this a minute ago. But this is kind of a classic problem, and you might already be aware of the answer. And what I want to look at is how can the processing debugger help you solve this problem? So without the debugger, one of the things that you might do is say, okay, well, clearly the y position is doing something weird. Let me add a print line statement right here. And I can see every cycle through draw, I can see what the y value is. And this comes out in the console, and we can sort of maybe see what's going on. Now this might be enough, because I can kind of see what's going on already. We got this number that's 300 and then sort of getting stuck. Like, what's going on here? So let's take a look more closely at the debugger. That's what I'm here for, the debugger. So the core feature, first of all, okay, so to enable the debugger, there's two ways. There's the debug menu here, enable debugger. You can just click right there. Another nicer way that I really enjoy is this nice, beautiful little insect icon. So if you click that icon, you'll notice a couple things. One, the menu changes up here. There are 4 different buttons. There used to just be 2, play, run, stop, run, stop. Now there are 4. I have to go through what those are. There is a variable inspector right here. Another pane that shows you what are the current variables of the sketch, x, y, speed, gravity, and what are their current values. Now, it's actually, I just realized it's showing some historical values of the last time I ran the debugger, because I was just testing this before we started. If you use the debugger for the first time with the sketch, this will be blank until you actually pause the sketch at a breakpoint, which is the next sort of thing that I want to talk about. So, the core feature of the debugger is it's all about setting breakpoints. Breakpoints are set at lines of code where you want to pause the sketch and investigate what's going on. So for example, let's say right here at this line of code, I want to pause the sketch right before I do this test, is y greater than height. So to set a breakpoint, I can select this toggle breakpoint option. I can also, I believe, right-click, I can click on the line number. Yep. So I can actually click on the line number, and you can see very, very closely there that the icon changes from the line number to this kind of greater than, less than sequence. So that is setting a breakpoint. And of course, another way to set a breakpoint is just with the Command B shortcut. So all of those will work. So I've now set a breakpoint there. When you set a breakpoint and hit run, which is no longer run, by the way, you can see that this button is now debug. If I hit debug, the sketch goes and it pauses right there at the breakpoint. The sketch has actually stopped, and I can see what are the current values of the variables, and this makes sense. X is 200, Y is 51, speed is 1.3, and gravity is 0.3. This makes a lot of sense because this is the first time through draw. So Y has gone up by 1, 50 plus 1. Speed has gone up by 0.3, 1 plus 0.3. So these variable values make sense. I can also go into this folder here. This folder is going to show me all of the built-in variables of processing. Where's the mouse, previous mouse, key code, frame rate. So you can see there's a lot of things here that you can look at, and just through this interface, which is often easier than just printing out like gobbledygook all in the console here. Okay, so now that we've looked at what it means to be able to inspect those variable values, what can I do next? The code is paused right here at this breakpoint. So there are a couple options, and you can see these options here. The two core options, and I'll talk about some of the other ones, are step and continue. Step and continue. What continue will do will keep running the code all the way until the next breakpoint. What step will do is we'll just advance line by line through the code. So you can walk through the code line by line and watch in the variable inspector how those variables change, which can help you diagnose what a problem is. So what I'm going to do first, however, because the problem hasn't really occurred yet, is I'm just going to hit continue. I'm going to hit continue a whole bunch of times. It's pausing every time through draw, and you can see I'm getting close to the bottom. And once I get to the bottom here, as I hit continue, you can see it's kind of stuck. So what's going on? Let's look at this variable. Let's look at the inspector more closely. 303 and speed is negative 0.9. Ooh. So, oops, I need to hit continue, sorry, which is over here. Then it said 304, 303, 304. So I can see that it's actually above 300. Why is it above 300? It went off the screen, greater than height. It turned around, but it never made it back less than 300. So then speed inverts again, right? That speed, look at that speed variable as I hit continue. I probably should have figured out a way to make this. Let me move this up here so I can zoom in here. Look at that speed variable. It's going back from negative to positive, getting smaller and smaller, and y is still greater than 300. So what's the problem? It's stuck off the window. So this is my slightly awkward way of trying to diagnose this problem. Using the debugger, I can now see that the solution is if I just nudge it back up to height before I reverse its speed, it won't get stuck, and I can off the screen, I can remove the debugger, I can run it again, and I'm done. There's no more problems. Okay, so let's look at some of the other features while we're here. I'm going to re-enable the debugger. We saw that when I hit debug, it runs and pauses. When I hit continue, it's just advancing until the next breakpoint, which happens to be just this one singular breakpoint. So if I were to add 2 breakpoints, let's add another one, and I hit stop and I'm going to debug again. We're at the first breakpoint. Continue goes to the next breakpoint. So you can see I'm jumping back and forth between these 2 breakpoints. Now, if I want, instead of continue going to the next breakpoint, I can use the step function. What the step function will do is watch this. Go to the next line of the code, go to the next line of code, go to the next line of code, go to the next line of code. So this is actually advancing line by line by line, which can be incredibly useful to look at and watch what the variables are doing and keep the sketch paused. And then at some other point, you can just hit continue again to go back to let it run again. So these are the core features of the debugger. If you look in the debug menu, you'll see that in addition to continue and step, there's step into and step out. Now, these are much more rarely needed, but they are there and they do provide a certain kind of purpose. One thing you'll notice here is that I'm kind of just looking at everything inside of the draw function. It's just a linear list of code. There's no objects, there's no classes, I'm not calling other functions. So one thing that this step function does is the step function just steps line by line through the current scope, the current function that you're at. So if I were to write a function like void, print, I'm just going to say void like crazy thing, and in this function I'm just going to say print line hi, right? If I call that function here, and I stop and hit debug again, and then I do step, 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 step. See how I stepped right past that crazy thing? I didn't start stepping through the lines of code that are in this function. So if I want to go into that function and continue to step, and I'm going to hit continue, I think I can do this. Step, step, and then now I want to do step into, which you can see now where's the debugger? It's into this function. If I want to go back to that calling area, debug and step out. So now I'm back up here. So it's a little bit tricky once you have function calls to other functions, whether you want to step over them, step into them, or step out of them. So step by default will always just step through the current function scope, and step into will go into the function that you're calling, but it has to be a function that you wrote, right? If the function is ellipse, you can't step into that function because that's part of the processing core library. It's not in your code to step into. So I'm sure I've left some things out. Hopefully this is a basic introduction. It's about 10 minutes long. Let's put this video out there and give it a try. And I can always re-record it with a better example or some other, answer some questions or make a follow-up video to this if I need to. Okay, thanks very much and enjoy processing 3. Oh, here's where I stop the video. Goodbye. Okay, was there anybody watching? Hi, for those of you who are watching, how was the audio? Was that okay? Oh. Did the stream stop? Oh no, this computer just went offline. Okay, shoot. Wi-Fi is terrible here. So I'm gonna pull up here. Sorry, everybody. I don't know if anyone's still there watching this stream. If I go to YouTube, hold on, YouTube live dashboard. Maybe this will get me to where I'm going. This stream is offline. Oops. No, it's there. Oh, hold on. How do I get events? Live control room. View and watch page. Okay. Hi. Okay, oh good, the sound was good. Good, everybody. So I think that, did anyone have any questions about the debugger? That kind of concludes my discussion of it. I just did it in one try. I'm sure it could have been better. Thanks for commenting. Yeah, so I'm gonna turn this off unless anybody has any last questions or comments. I'm kind of keeping an eye on the chat, all 4 of you. You can see your chat messages there. Oh, sure, go ahead, ask the question. It doesn't have to be about the debugger. That's what this is for. I'm happy to hang out here for another half an hour and answer questions about processing. I need to get this machine back on the internet while I wait for the question. Why is network it's terrible how the NYU Wi-Fi doesn't work. I had a whole plan for this second screen where I could have the chat on the second screen, not on this screen, which is the screen you're seeing, but NYU Wi-Fi just keeps cutting out, so I think I need both of these machines, I guess, plugged into the Ethernet network. Yeah, thanks. It's a little bit insane. Okay, frame rate. So the question is asked, frame rate, how does it affect drawing and changing of variable numbers? That is the one thing that has never been fully clear to me. Okay, so let's take a look at this question, and then I'll come back and, so this is a great question. I'm gonna turn the debugger off, and I'm going to run this code again. This is now working, it's this bouncing ball. So let's say you're looking at this and you feel like, okay, it's going too fast. It's bouncing up and down. This is no good. You want it to run slower. So you might think, okay, well, I can control the frame rate. That'll make it run slower. And by the way, I just want to change this to like 0.95. Let's run it again. So we can see it's nice, fluid, seamless animation. You want it to run slower. You could say, okay, I'm going to change the frame rate to 10. And by the way, we don't need this print line anymore. So changing the frame rate from the default processing by default attempts to run at 60 frames per second. Changing the frame rate, you can see, okay, it's moving slower, but there's a couple of issues. Number one is you can see, I don't know how much you can see this on this video recording, but there's a bit of a staccato to it. It's sort of stepping through, and the sort of fluidness of the animation is lost. So that's problem number one. Problem number two is, what if you had 2 of these and you want one to be moving more slowly and one to be moving more quickly? So affecting the global frame rate is generally never a particularly great idea. And what you want to do is try to let processing run as fast as it can at 60 frames per second and control the speed of things through math. So in this case, one easy way I could control the speed is starting at 1, but what's really affecting how fast the thing is moving is this gravity variable that's accumulating in speed. So if I wanted it to kind of go more slowly, one thing I could do is change this from 0.3 to 0.1, for example. And you can see now there's a slightly slower bounce to it. And if I had another one, I could have different variables. And there's a lot more to this. I could, have a dampening effect and add other variables. But this is the basic essential idea. I don't know if I answered the question. This is why I need the chat up. You can let me know if I answered that question or ask any other questions. I'm going to try to get this computer also back. Oh, I think I'm back on the internet. Oh yeah, I am on the internet. I think. Ridiculous. It goes on, it goes off. I should just log into, when I do this, I should log into the NYU Guest Network. You did, thank you. Yeah, there's a delay for 30 seconds. This is something I would like to really work out. I wish that wasn't the case. Any last questions before I shut this off for the day? I'm enjoying doing these live streams, and there's very few people tuning in. But that's just fine. But spread the word, or connect to me on, I guess, Twitter or whatever. Maybe there's certain times of day we can get people on just asking questions. Yes, and I'm going to be doing more videos on both processing and P5.js, and they'll all be here. I put them on Vimeo and YouTube, which it's sort of like a weird thing to do, but I put ads here on YouTube to see if that generates anything, but it doesn't really, it's very little. So you can watch them on Vimeo without the ads if you prefer. Okay, I'm gonna wait the 30 seconds now to see if there are any last questions. So I will come back and do more of these, and I'm gonna post the video, the sort of edited, it's not edited, but it's just sort of a section of this, which is actually about the debugger. Okay. Oh, wait, where do I hit stop? So to hit stop, I go to the live control room, and I'm going to click this button, stop streaming, goodbye. And yeah, I think you'd still leave comments on this video, it'll be there. Yes, I do.